I'm Anna Hemmings from Beyond the Barriers, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Gemma Merchant. So, hi Gemma, welcome. And can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So I'm currently Associate Director at Winchester White Letting Agents, based in Southwest London, focusing mainly on the kind of property management, property services side, so the back office of residential agency, essentially.
Excellent, thank you. Thanks, Gemma. So you've just finished the Resilient Leaders Toolkit course, the 12-week program. If you think back to April when we started it, what was your motivation, the driver behind you joining the course in the first place?
For me, it was kind of the next step for me was to grow my leadership skills, from a property management problem solving kind of my job, so to speak. I can, there's only so much you can learn, and I've done it for the last 13 years, but the next level for me was to understand leadership properly, understand kind of what it takes to lead a team and to be successful at it. And looking at the courses out there, for me, when I saw the kind of the depth that this course went into and the understanding, it kind of really resonated with me. And obviously I'd met you previously, and kind of I feel like when you kind of have I suppose I say buy-in, but when you believe in the person that is going to be teaching you or mentoring you, it kind of also makes it a little bit more special, because of I suppose the background behind it. So that there's clarity, and there's real analogies as to put it into play, rather than someone kind of teaching you leadership and sending you bits and pieces to do and telling you what you should do without actually them having their experiences or clarity behind it.
So you felt like there was credibility behind what I was going to be offering based on what you'd seen me present before.
Absolutely. And it's super hard. I think leadership and management skills are super hard, because you can have someone tell you how successful they are, and they've done X, Y, and Z, and this is what they do, and read this book, and you're like, yeah, that's great. But when obviously you're super successful, and when you can add you know the good things and the bad things that have worked, and the credibility behind what's made you successful in relation to that, I think for me I was like, this is going to be brilliant, and it's just going to add so much to what I need to learn.
And so what were the main benefits that you got from the course? What did you come away with?
The biggest thing for me was awareness, not just awareness of myself, but awareness of those around me. And actually, you can, from one thing that can trigger you to absolute stress, to something that actually now you can rationalize and go away and think about it. And the awareness of the team, and just observing and understanding what takes them from calm to crisis, and knowing that you can help them. But also, one of the biggest things for me was the decision making. Historically, I'll kind of make a decision, and then I'll ponder on the decision, and then I'll worry about the decision, which then makes it 10 times worse. And then you're like, oh, was that the right thing to do? And the tools and the challenges that we done, which mine were heavily on awareness and decision making. Since doing those challenges, now when I go into something, I do it using the tools from the challenges to be like, right, okay, well, have I thought of everything? Have I looked at what is worth it, what's not worth it? Is it going to work? Will this decision lead off to other decisions that could be great for the company, or are they going to be closed and they're not going to offer us much? And it's just kind of given me more of an insight that when you have to make those decisions that could change the complete direction of a company, are you doing it for the right reasons, or are you boxing yourself? So for me, the awareness side of things, and the motivational markers for my team have been absolutely phenomenal, to understand what motivates my team, to help me then understand the best way that they work, and myself, and the decision making tools that now going into, for me, is an important part of my career. I'm so confident that actually, as long as I use all those skills, and I'm confident in that decision, nothing, nothing can go wrong, hopefully.
I love it. I love that you've taken so much and you're applying it. You're putting it into practice. You're seeing it have impact, and that's just your confidence has just rocketed. So you did, as you said, you did a lot of the challenges. A lot of them were focused on decision making. Can you tell us a little bit about one of the challenges that you did, perhaps that really struck a chord, that had a big, aha moment for you? What was the big impact of one of the challenges?
I mean, there were a couple. There's one that I've spoke about a fair bit, which was one in relation to when you're looking at decisions, looking at what the perfect outcome is, what a good outcome is, and what's a good enough outcome. And it struck a chord with me in the sense that I kind of look for the perfection in everything, and in what I do, you can't be perfect in everything. And it was understanding that nothing is going to be perfect, otherwise, there would be no problems in the world. And just taking that context and the problem that I've got, and understanding, right, well, yeah, that would be absolutely great, but as a bare minimum, if we can achieve that, we've ticked the box, and it's solved. So when then going, and then I then actually made it bigger and used it for generic issues, which is looking at the company, or my team structure as a whole, and the tasks that we need to perform on a quarterly basis, and saying, right, well, these decisions need to be made. We've got to sort this. So what is the perfect outcome, a good enough, and the bare minimum? And then it then creates structure. And for me, it's been massive, because not only has it helped me plan the next 3 quarters, but some of my team now do that as well. So I've then kind of passed it off to my team, and my tenancy coordinator, who is phenomenal. We were going through an issue that she had, and it's so easy for me to say, well, what I would do is this and this, which historically I would have done. I said to her, right, sit down. What would be really good is write the problem. What would be your perfect outcome, good enough, and you sit down, and then we'll talk about it later. So not only has it helped me to make a good decision, or to understand that you can't be perfect at everything, you can't make the perfect decision. It's actually allowing my team to grow, because I'm, rather than giving me giving them my opinion all the time, I'm asking for their input and for them to use it to solve their own problem.
That's brilliant. I didn't know about that you were sharing these techniques with your team. And so it's helping you to not have to do everything yourself. They're
Yeah,
growing, the team's, developing together and getting better results, and they're more empowered. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Amazing. So tell me, what would you say was the biggest thing that you're doing differently now as a leader, or, in terms of the way that you lead?
It's my self-awareness. Um, I think that was the biggest aha moment for me, which is looking at what, I in being in property services and property management for so many years, you thrive on crisis. Is what you do. That's, you've got 1,000 issues on a Friday afternoon, and that's when you perform at your greatest. But it's not sustainable. And as a leader, that's not sustainable, to be constantly in crisis. And I was aware that sometimes it tips over the edge, and I don't know what had got me there, or how to get out of it, or everything's a disaster. So for me to understand, in the sessions that we did, the awareness session, and it was, writing down what are your triggers, and it's something I'd never thought about. And by putting the granular data down as to, right, the situations that I've got myself into, where I've gone from here to here in 100 miles an hour, what was that trigger? And it can be one thing, it can be a person, it can be a meeting, it can be anything. And writing them down and being like, that's insane. Like, I can actually control these issues, and I can control what's happening with them and my feelings towards them. And looking at the quadrant of emotional energy as well, which is that if you can feel yourself slightly off one day, you need to be back in this box. So how are you going to get yourself there? And it's just the awareness of your mood, and how you affect others, and even the use of your tone of language, can mean something completely different. And I did quite a few challenges on that, which was, understanding, asking for help, You know, when you were in a stressful situation, how did you feel? And then the techniques that we did in relation to the rhythmic breathing, and the freeze frame. I mean, the freeze frame I've used so many times in the last couple of weeks, because it's crazy, because you react from a place that's not going to help you. So by freezing, acknowledging that feeling, and then looking at the flip side of it, and then being able to respond, you know, in a rational, calm way, rather than the place that you originally would have sent it from. And for me, it's just, I would say, for me, that's the biggest thing. It's the biggest change, not only in me. I think my team would probably reflect that, but it's actually in everything that I do now. I've taken it wider, not just in it from a business stance, but into a personal stance, which is, you know, when on a weekend, what stresses me out? Like, let's eradicate them. Let's stop that. Let's think about that, and let's change that. And yeah, I think for me, that the self-awareness was the biggest takeaway, and the biggest growth for me, I think.
Yeah, well, it was indeed. In your results, your reassessment at the end of the 12 weeks, you had 105% improvement in your self-awareness, which is just incredible. 40% improvement overall in all areas of your leadership development, which is just fabulous. But yeah, absolutely, that self-awareness has been huge for you, and it's so important as a leader to have that awareness of yourself, but also I think it's brought so much confidence, I think, in that I've seen in you over the last 12 weeks. Yeah. That awareness of what you're strong at, you know, where your strengths lie, what you bring, and that awareness, you know, of what takes you from pressure to stress, and then how to rebalance. And I love that you're using the freeze frame technique. It's such a simple technique, so quick, so easy, but so effective. And I love how it's helping you to just pause and see things from a different perspective, be able to make a more rational decision after using that technique. So that's, combined with all the decision-making work that you did, is just excellent. And I love that you also, you know, you talk about decision-making being an area of real growth. What I hear you say is also that you have, within that, you've brought in awareness of self, because you know what you need now. You know what helps you to make a good decision, where your strengths lie. You're reaching out to others. You're thinking about, in terms of serving as a leader, you know, who's this decision going to impact? You know, so you're bringing in all of the other elements as well when you're making that decision, based on the learning that you've, and all the challenges that you've done around decision making. So it's excellent. So I'm really delighted that the course has had impact for you, and that it's changed your leadership style, and also had impact in your personal life. I mean, that's just wonderful. You know, you come on these courses to develop as a leader for your work, but to have impact that translates into your personal life and improves your well-being outside of work, then that's just music to my ears. It really is. So thank you for all your hard work, and taking all of that content that we did in the sessions and really applying it and putting it into action, and then seeing great results. I love it. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's been an amazing 12 weeks, and the content, you know, that you go through in the sessions, and the challenges. I remember when we first had our call, and you said, right, there's going to be challenges, and you have to put as much into the challenges as you want out of them. And I was like, okay, right, ready. So I'd put time aside a week, and as you know, there's some that you're resistant to, but you have to go to. But you know, if the challenges alongside the sessions are so important, because actually the sessions add clarity to what we're discussing, but the challenges are what push you. They make you think, they make you, they make you look at everything, they make you look at what you're doing. And I think, again, the advice would always be, always do as many challenges as you can, because that's where it comes, because you put it into your practice, and that's when you have your aha moments, and that's when you're like, makes sense, that's why I need to do that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The people who put the most effort into the challenges get the most out of the course, because that's really, the learning happens in the master classes, but the growth happens outside when you go away and apply it, and that's your opportunity to really put it all into practice, and you did that so brilliantly, and that's why you got such wonderful results, because you worked really hard, and even those challenges that you were a bit resistant to, they're called a challenge for a reason, I always say that, but you really did notice that you were resisting it, and worked through it, and sort of reflected on why am I resisting this? Why don't I want to do this? And that's brilliant, because that's how you then, you build that self-awareness of what's going on for me here, and why am I struggling with this one? Why am I trying to avoid it? And then that's where you learn, and that's where you grow. So brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today, Gemma. It's been great to talk to you, and all the best with your leadership journey as you go forwards.
No problem. Thank you, Anna.